We're the Con Guys, and this is the Con Guy Show, coming to you straight from the nerdy heart of Hollywood, California.
And this is Jim with theconguy.com.
She's been here with theconguy.com.
Katie here, aka the Con Girl.
Zordon did not want 5 teenagers with attitude.
My name is Derek Sam.
I'm Danae Sams, and that's my brother.
We are your home for news, opinions, and interviews from the world of Comic-Cons and fandoms. Your ultimate insiders for all things con.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Con Guy Show, where we talk about all things fandom and Comic-Cons and cool stuff through the perspective of filmmakers, the lens of filmmakers, if you will. The big guy is having his moment. We are talking the King of Monsters himself tonight, Godzilla, who is currently on the big screen in Toho's fantastic new film, Godzilla Minus One. I don't want to say fantastic because that's giving away how I feel about it. We're about to do a review of it. So in the new film, Godzilla Minus One, he's also on the small screen on Apple Plus's Monarch, Legacy of Monsters. And the newest trailer dropped for next year's film from Universal Studios and Legendary called Godzilla X Kong.
Kong?
Or Godzilla and Kong, the New Empire.
Is this how they're teaching kids math these days? You got to have Godzilla in it?
Oh, no. But anyways, my name is Jim Fry. I'm a screenwriter here in Hollywood, and we have some guests tonight. These guests who are Godzilla fans. So you'll notice that our regular crew isn't here tonight because, no, they're not so much into Godzilla. I want a real Godzilla folks on the show tonight. Jake, why don't you go ahead and tell us about yourself?
Hey everybody, it's Jake coming at you from the Jacoba system here in Columbus, Ohio. Thanks again for having me on the show. It's always a pleasure to be here. I guess I'm the official collectible guy on the show, so I definitely have a lot of cool Godzilla collectibles to talk about tonight.
Nice.
And obviously we're going to talk about the new movie and kind of like our whole history with the franchise and the character Godzilla, so I'm really excited to be here.
Jake just saw it yesterday.
I love it.
And Jake is on East Coast time, as is our next guest, Tom Parham, who we have not seen in a while. Thomas, introduce yourself, my friend.
Hi, Dr. Thomas Parham. I chair the Department of Visual and Media Arts at Palm Beach Atlantic University in Florida.
And Tom is also, he's a screenwriter, teaches screenwriting. He knows everything there is to know about pop culture. Tom, you were doing a podcast for a while. You guys still doing that?
Yeah, no, it's been monthly. We're slowly building our fan base.
And what is it?
It's called Screen Tom on Podcast by Spotify, as well as I guess it's Apple Podcast now instead of iTunes. Because Evan for Finn, we take our established brand and use that for things.
And just real quick, do a little plug. What's your podcast about?
It's a screen studies podcast, so we have a pretty regular format. We look at industry trends. The November episode talked about portrayals of Native Americans on film and TV. And a good friend of mine, one of my first ever college students, Dr. Lindsay Marshall, who has a doctorate in history, Native American studies. So she helped us unpack the history of Native Americans on film. And of course, we talked about the current trend, including the Yellowstone family of shows, as well as Killers of the Flower Moon, which I highly recommend if you haven't seen it.
Oh my goodness, I'm probably gonna go see. I haven't seen it yet, but that's 3. Is it? Just tell
it
me.
Goes by quickly.
Is it 3.5 hours of brutality though?
No, Scorsese shows a lot of restraint because I've seen classic Scorsese like Goodfellas and Raging Bull and Taxi Driver. Older, wiser Scorsese movies like Silence and Killers of the Flower Moon. He uses a very deft touch.
Nice.
But
we'd like to say hello, Lily. So glad to see you tonight. Lily says she's Godzilla. I love Godzilla. I grew up watching Godzilla, those black and white ones, then the color ones too. I'm right there with you. Excuse me. So today we are discussing the Year of Godzilla and I don't know if it's fair to say, but I'm going to say this is peak Godzilla season right now. And he's having a year. Is it too much of a good thing, or is this what we have been wanting? In 1954, the mighty prehistoric lizard was first wakened from his sleep by an atomic bomb off the coast of Japan, and where whereas he then proceeded to wreak havoc on the residents of Tokyo. First appearing in 1954, Godzilla has starred in a total of, if this is correct, 38 films. 33 of those were Japanese films produced and distributed by Toho, and 5 American films, the first of which was produced by TriStar. I think that's the one with 1998.
I don't think we talk about that one. Jake, am I right?
But all the remaining ones are by Legendary Pictures, now in cooperation with Universal Studios. And the next one is set for release in April 2024. Guys, we are going to talk about Godzilla. I just want to know real quick. Let's start with Jake. Your first exposure to Godzilla, my friend, and why? What got you hooked? And Jake, you tell me. Jake gave me all kind of photos and stuff. Just tell me when to pull up any kind of photos you want me to pull up.
Oh, okay. Well, we can get those are for a little bit later. But
Right.
First exposure was as a kid. I have 2 vivid memories. My dad bringing home 2 different VHS tapes. One was Creature from the Black Lagoon, and the other one was King Kong versus Godzilla. And like I saw that movie as a kid, and it just blew my mind. Like it was everything I love. It's like giant monsters fighting. I think we said before in some Jurassic Park thing we did. I'm like, what kid doesn't love dinosaurs? Or whatever, dragons, whatever you consider Godzilla to be, like a dinosaur, obviously like a dinosaur thing.
Godzilla.
Yeah.
Here there be dragons. Do you have it?
No, I don't. But this is my Blu-ray steel book of King Kong versus Godzilla.
The original King Kong versus Godzilla.
Yeah. So this was definitely my big introduction. And then through a show, I actually wore the shirt tonight, TNT Monster Vision. I don't know if you guys remember this back in the day on TNT in the 90s. They would play old monster movies all the time, and they would do Godzilla marathons a lot when I was a kid. And I was just like a sponge, just like absorbing all this, like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. You good?
We're good.
Okay. And then other movies we had, like I picked up on VHS as a kid, like this is a classic. I still have my original VHS, Godzilla versus the Sea Monster. So, and then also if you want to show that one picture, there's a cartoon that I used to watch. Yep, there it is. Yep, I'm sure you guys know about this one. This was
Godzilla.
Was this a Hanna
And
We're such dorks. I think this was a Hanna-Barbera show, but
it was.
I would watch this on the early days of Cartoon Network in like the early to mid 90s. They would play reruns of just before they started with Adult Swim and all.
I watched it on Saturday morning cartoons, my friend.
I know. I know.
I watched it when it originally aired on NBC.
Right. So I watched the reruns in the 90s, but still, like that was I was like, oh wow, I never knew about this, and it's just like Godzilla. I'm all in.
What about you, Tom?
My introduction to Godzilla was the Marvel Comics adaptation from the 70s, which, because Marvel licensed a lot of properties for comics in the 70s, they would always insert them into the Marvel universe. So that was also my introduction to S.H.I.E.L.D., and Dum Dum Dugan was kind of running point on the Godzilla task force. And then I saw the cartoon. I, of course, suspected that the real Godzilla did not have a cartoon nephew that was cute and adorable.
Well, he eventually, son of Godzilla was eventually cute and adorable.
Was he?
Well, just irritating.
He's very odd. He's odd. I'll say that.
What hooked you in, Tom?
So what?
What hooked you in?
Well, I'm fairly new to the Godzilla verse. The new reboots from Legendary Pictures and I guess Universal now, formerly Warner's.
Yep.
A lot of nerds found out the hard way the difference between a financing company that owns a property and the distributor. But I think one of the things that hooked me was going to WonderCon years ago. I think it was for Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Yeah.
And there were fanboys having complete nerdgasms, especially Bear McCreary, whom I know a little bit from his Galactica days, was the composer for the movie. And people were seriously having full-on nerdgasms. So I watched the movie when it came out in theaters to see what's all the fuss about. I've enjoyed the. I haven't seen the Kong Skull Island because I hated the Jackson King Kong a lot. I've heard Kong Skull Island is pretty, actually.
You should check it out. It's actually really good.
I've heard it, and it's got Sam Jackson in it.
It does, yeah.
Sam Jackson PG-13, which I'm not used to. It's
No,
like
it's
true.
It's
violent. That movie is violent.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I went to that theater being like, I don't know, but I remember leaving just being like, that was awesome. Like I loved every second of that movie. So definitely worth checking out, in my opinion.
My opinion too.
I watched I guess it was King of the Monsters, then Godzilla versus Kong, and then went back and watched the Godzilla reboot with Bryan Cranston, which is decent. I mean,
although Bryan Cranston was wasted.
Well, he's in one act. It's like, it's like, how much money you got? Okay, that's good enough for one act.
Yeah, that's about it.
But I loved Godzilla Minus One.
Okay, we're gonna get there in just a second. But I was introduced to Godzilla when I was a little kid, probably in the second grade. My dad had given me a model of Godzilla. My dad had put it together, glued it together, spent weeks putting it together, and it was when the lights would go out at nighttime in my bedroom, the fins on his back would glow.
Hello?
Yeah, and as a little kid, I remember him to be about this tall. So maybe he was about this tall. I don't know. But I wish to goodness I still had that model, because I always remember every time I go to a Comic-Con or a convention, I look for a model similar to that, like something you could put together. But I remember loving Godzilla as a kid. When I was probably in the second grade, the neighborhood, my best friend in the neighborhood, Paul, and his mom, they took me to see Godzilla in the theaters, 1973, Godzilla versus Megalon.
Oh.
And 1 week later, it was on television, which was weird. I remember thinking as a kid, wow, that was weird. But of course, Megalon's regarded as one of the worst of the monsters.
I was going to say, I think that's one of the few Godzilla movies that was actually on Mystery Science Theater 3000.
you can't ever figure out. He's got like these appendages of this, and he's a mess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just through the years, I'm not a guy who's like a Godzilla fanatic where I've studied all the Godzilla. You know, there's 4 different eras of Godzilla, the original in the current era, and then the Showa era and all this stuff. But I know there are super campy movies. You know, I have some complaints about the trailer that came out for the new movie, but then Ben, who's on our show, sent me a GIF. Is it GIF or GIF? Nobody knows.
It should be GIF because it's graphic.
Okay, interface, blah, 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 blah.
Blah.
Anyways, but it showed me, he goes, for people complaining about how corny some of that trailer is, and it had all these scenes from like Godzilla doing a dance in the olden one, or Godzilla sliding on his tail for like miles to hit it. It's been pretty campy, but listen, let's do this real quick. The Hollywood Reporter this week, and let's just start this way. The Hollywood Reporter came up with their list of the top 20 from best to worst Godzilla monsters that Godzilla has had to fight against. So I thought it might be fun. Let me pull up the Hollywood Reporter list here. Let me go down. We're going to start at number 10. We're not going to go through all 20. We don't have all that kind of time tonight, but we'll start at number 10 and go through and see if you guys recognize these, and then see if these are any that you can remember. Do you guys know what this monster is?
Oh, is that Destroya?
No, that's Orga.
Orga. Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Look at his mouth. He's got this mouth, this weird mouth that extends, and like he put Godzilla all the way in his giant mouth during their fight.
Oh wow. So we're starting from 10.
Yeah, this is number 10.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
We'll go 10. And this thing appeared in Godzilla 2000 Millennium in Godzilla 2000 Millennium, which appeared in 1999.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the Millenniums. Boy, that's quite a title. All right. This next one, I was surprised, showed up so far down the list.
Rodan,
yeah. But like Mothra, Rodan had his or her, because she lays eggs, right? No, Mothra lays eggs.
Mothra, yeah. No,
Mothra is definitely
female. Yeah. But like Rodan had a solar feature film all to himself before he ever appeared in a Godzilla film. He came in 1956. He's an irradiated, pteranodon, and he had a female partner, and they wreaked havoc over Japan. but then Rodan survived and came back to fight Godzilla later. So this is number 9. Have you guys seen the Rodan and the originals? Oh, you wait.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I
was gonna say.
Let's see. Let me pull this
There's
up.
a little Rodan for you.
Well, that's very cool. I know that when I used to watch Godzilla movies with my dad when I was young, he used to always talk about Rodan. That was one of his favorites. Now, this next one, this one's very iconic. You see this all over the place. Gigan.
Yeah.
Gigan is pure chaos and violence, essentially filling the role of Godzilla's Joker, according to the Hollywood Reporter. This Godzilla versus Gigan came out in 1972.
Mm-hmm. I always loved how the spikes on his belly was like a buzzsaw. Like
he had a buzzsaw on his belly.
Yeah.
Apparently, it was one of the bloodiest Godzilla movies that came out.
Does it actually act like a buzzsaw, Jake?
Yeah, it spins like it's.
Isn't that weird? But it actually showed. It was the first time you showed Godzilla spurting blood.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. This next one's kind of famous, and he's made a couple of appearances.
Yep.
Mechagodzilla.
Mechagodzilla. Is he more machine than monster? Mechagodzilla is one of Godzilla's strongest and most popular adversaries. He was inspired. Let me see. I'm not going to go into all that. It came out in 1974. Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, followed quickly by Terror of Mechagodzilla. And I guess, do you know the story behind Mechagodzilla? Oh wait, you got a Mechagodzilla there. Of course you do.
It's the Super 7 Mechagodzilla. I was so bummed because I bought this one first, and then like a year later they re-released it as a much more like chrome version, like a shiny metal version. Like, dang it! So cool. I just have this matte gray one. It's still cool, but it's kind of compared to the other one, it's pretty boring. But yeah,
what's interesting.
And then
this is a rather late addition to Godzilla's most recognizable foes. Mechagodzilla proved to be such a hit that he had 2 movies. Originally, Mechagodzilla was a weapon designed by aliens to first turn the public against Godzilla, who had by this time emerged as a protector.
And they were
problems with that.
And they were like, it was like a Planet of the Apes type thing. Like the aliens were like ape men who appeared human, but then when they would like shoot them with like lasers or ray guns, whatever, they would turn into like Planet of the Apes characters. And then when Mechagodzilla first showed up, he looked like Godzilla, and people thought it was Godzilla tearing up the city until the real Godzilla shows up, and then he hits him on the arm and breaks a big chunk of flesh off. Then you see there's metal underneath. It's like, oh, it's the Mechagodzilla.
But what's interesting, by the 2000s, once we entered the Millennium era, Mechagodzilla, he came back and they reimagined him as a cyborg whose metallic body was built over the original bones of Godzilla.
Yeah. So this is like a version of Godzilla from, I think this is like 2004, the Final Wars movie, I believe.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can see they added more like guns and all this stuff to him. So yeah, to me, I always thought as a kid, I thought Mechagodzilla, besides King Kong, was always pretty far up there as like the best villains. Like that's the original one. There's the 04. Then this is the one we got in Godzilla versus Kong.
The one that just came out was 2 years ago, right?
Yeah. So yeah, you can see like they definitely have
it's interesting, the lasting appeal, like you said, of Mechagodzilla.
It's just such a cool idea. It's like what's cooler than Godzilla? A robot Godzilla.
All right. This next one I'm not super familiar with, but do you guys know who this is?
That's the smog monster.
Trash.
What's the name?
Hedorah.
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 Yeah.
He's a giant trash monster.
Yep.
He first appeared in Godzilla versus Hedorah in 1971 from director Yoshimitsu Banno.
Yeah, it was a very it was one of the most, like, I guess, movies that had the message like don't pollute the earth.
Yeah,
they had the whole thing about like there's a big theme song called Save the Earth throughout the movie. I remember watching that as a kid and just being like, wow, yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's a big message movie. And I guess despite the singing hippies,
right.
It also features one of Godzilla's most brutal battles. Hedorah not only takes one of Godzilla's eyes, but he also burns his hand all the way down to the bone. A very bloody fight. Yeah.
Crazy.
Is that crazy? I don't remember Godzilla movies getting quite that destructive. All right, here's one that we all know and love.
Yep, Mothra.
Mothra!
They really reimagined the monsters for the legendary
Yeah.
films.
Yeah.
Either way, she had some work done. It is Hollywood.
But like Mothra also had her own movie before Godzilla. The giant moth goddess debuted in 1961 in a movie called in the serialized novel The Luminous Fairies and Mothra, and it was quickly made into a movie called Mothra that year in 1961. And then she emerged as Japan's second most popular monster after Godzilla. So Mothra was the second most popular after Godzilla, which is kind of cool. She earned the title Queen of the Monsters. Finally, she fought Godzilla in 1964, but eventually she became she wasn't evil. She became a good guy, a good lady. So
okay, Jake, I just have to clarify this. So was that accurate as in the legendary picture that Godzilla and Mothra have a thing going on?
it is.
I've seen a lot of the movies. It's been a long time, so I don't really remember everything. So I don't know if it's like, I don't know if they really have a thing going on, the old ones, but it's definitely, I mean, she's definitely like one of the top characters as well. Most recognizable Godzilla, foes. And the thing that I remember the most from Mothra in the movies was how creeped out I was at the little twins, the little.
Yeah.
And it's cool. They did that in the legendary, but they weren't little. Like it was a woman who's like my twin died, and she had some kind of connection with Mothra. So I'm like, oh, that's a cool way. They kind of connected it, but also like didn't completely whatever. Just ignore the old story,
Yeah. But it is kind of a weird story. Like if you watch it, like, and again, I think sometimes our American sensibilities get in the way of films that are not from America, but it does just seem very weird. I just noticed that, all right. We go through number 3 and then I don't have number 2 and 1 on here. I got to grab them real quick. All right. By the way, who do you think number 4 is? One of the most popular battles in Godzilla lore.
It's got to be King Kong.
Ooh, you got it, my friend.
Yeah.
King Kong.
Yep.
King Kong. Because you just showed us, Jake, you got to get the Kong's relationship with Godzilla is an interesting one, particularly since he's one of the only monsters that did not come from Toho. He's an American-made monster, and the giant gorilla first debuted in King Kong in 1933, and he, and he inspired the creation of Godzilla, and it would because he was King Kong was re-released in 1952, and then Godzilla came 2 years later in 1954. King Kong versus Godzilla came in 1962. Jake, why is that one such a big one for you?
Well, I mean, that was my introduction to both characters, and then going forward and seeing like the original movies and just like, seeing where the character started from. And like, yeah, it was just such a awesome movie. Like as a kid, like I loved it. And then now you watch it and there's a lot of stuff. You're like, that's kind of cheesy. That's whatever. It's like it's very cheesy, but it's still like, it always will hold the place in my heart of just like, this was, and also you talk about just like what a big deal it was. Like this was like the big American monster, King Kong, and the big Japanese monster, Godzilla, meeting on screen, fighting that, besides the universal monsters, like, what other examples do we have of that where it's like huge characters like that, like Dracula versus Frankenstein or Wolfman and stuff. It was basically a new version of that, but with like these, no pun intended, like monster characters,
Yeah.
Titans.
Yeah.
Titans, which is a new thing. Give me 1 second, guys. I apologize. There we go. All right. Tom, did you see, by the way, wait. Isn't it true that the ending for King Kong versus Godzilla was different in each country?
That's been a rumor for years.
But it's not true, right?
I don't know. It's always like someone's always like, oh, someone saw a print somewhere where in the Japanese version Godzilla wins, and then the American cut King Kong wins. But I've also heard like there's no other version except the one we've always scene. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a film legend, I guess. Urban legend, I guess. I don't know.
All right, here we go. Number three. You guys know this? It's one of the coolest looking ones.
Is that Destroyer?
That's Destroyer.
Okay, gotcha. I knew. Yeah.
He nearly killed Godzilla.
Mhm.
His origin goes back to 1954 and a weapon known as the Oxygen Destroyer that was used to defeat the original Godzilla. Godzilla versus Destroyer came out in 1995, where the Oxygen Destroyer is revealed to have had an unintended consequence. Basically, it woke up all these animals underneath that were trapped in the Earth's pre-Cambrian crustaceans trapped in the Earth, and he came out, and they mutated over 40 years, rose up, and the rest is history. Not only is Destroyer incredibly durable and able to withstand Godzilla's atomic blast, but he also proves to be more than a physical adversary by getting into Godzilla's head by killing his son, Godzilla Jr., which furthers Godzilla's descent into nuclear meltdown, which ultimately proves catastrophic to Destroyer's survival. That is very, very craziness. That's just nuts.
Such a cool design. I love that.
All right, this next one. Give me 1 second, guys. I apologize for this. This is the one that I don't have. Export. We'll call it. Yeah. Go with Bill. So number. I apologize to everybody watching. This is the one that did not import real quick. I'm doing it right now. All right. This is number 2. And I was actually super surprised that the Hollywood Reporter called this the second biggest one in history. This is Violente.
Yep.
One of the best designed kaiju in the history of cinema. Have you seen this one, Thomas?
No.
It's in Godzilla versus Violente, which is 1989. The monster is the result of a grieving scientist merging his daughter's cells with a rose and later Godzilla's cells, leading to a stunning evolutionary process that may be the closest a Godzilla film has gotten into Cronenberg territory.
Huh.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought it was some kind of like plant monster or something.
It kind of is. Like, you don't see. It looks like a giant rose bush monster.
With teeth.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Audrey too from Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah.
Maybe this. All right. I don't think. Okay, you guys. Who is the most popular monster to fight Godzilla of all time?
Ghidorah.
King
Yep,
Ghidorah.
there you go. Yep.
There's none other. Ghidorah is just like. Is it Ghidorah? Ghidorah? I don't. It's
King Ghidorah, I believe.
Oh, it's Ghidorah?
I think so. I'm pretty sure.
First appeared in Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, in 1964.
It might be Ghidra. I don't know.
Ghidra. Some people call it. It's 1964. He cemented himself as Godzilla's arch nemesis and a true threat to his dominance on Earth. Co-creator Ashiro Honda based Ghidorah's design on the mythological Japanese dragon, Yamato no Orichi. I'm not going to pretend like I can pronounce these correctly. Yamata no Orichi, and equipped the creature with gravity beams and later chain lightning attacks. He's been seen in Destroy All Monsters in 68, Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, 1991, and Godzilla King of the Monsters in 2019, which was the legendary one. Yep. Which gave each head its own personality, which was new for
which was kind of cool.
I liked it. I thought it was cool. I thought it was the best part of the new films.
I always think of the movie Pee-wee's Big Adventure when I see it, because the scene where he's going through Hollywood, the studios, and he goes to they're making a Godzilla movie, and it's Godzilla and King Ghidorah, whatever. Mm-hmm. Knocks them into the car, and they all go.
Oh my gosh! All right, guys. So, how about before we talk about Godzilla Minus One? Let's talk about just for a second about how the whole Godzilla universe seems to be sitting this week. We have the movie, we have next year's movie, and we have the series. Thomas, you've been watching the series, right?
Yes.
And Jake, have you seen the Apple series?
I have not.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, Thomas, how about me and you talk about this? Because I've seen every episode, which is 5 episodes. Episode 6 comes out this Friday. For those of you watching this right now, let me see. We have a couple comments. I forget. Lily said she did not like any of the American versions. None of them. I'm close to you, Lily.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. But Thomas, so the Apple series is super ambitious, super big, giant budget. Tell us, I want to hear your thoughts about it.
It's kind of an interesting way to approach it. And obviously it's called Monarch, Legacy of Monsters. So we literally, I mean, Godzilla's screen time so far, we see fleeting glimpses of him.
Yeah.
In flashback. And basically Godzilla attacked San Francisco. They call that day G-Day.
Yep.
And the main plot of the series is a young woman travels to Japan and finds out she has a half brother she didn't know existed. And it turns out dad had a family in the States and a family in Japan. So the two half siblings initially don't play well with each other, but of course they have to. For me, the big draw is, and kind of one of the really fascinating aspects of the series is they approached Wyatt Russell and Kurt Russell and says, we want to cast you both in the series.
I love it.
You're playing the same character as Wyatt as a young man and Kurt as a much older man. And so it's the first time they've done a project together, especially like this, because they've gotten many offers to work together as father and son. But Kurt Russell, I mean, both the Russells are great.
Yeah.
I would say a weakness is I'm fully invested in the flashbacks.
Yeah.
But in the present day, Kurt Russell is definitely the best actor of the bunch. And then the three younger actors, you've got, the Japanese American woman, her Japanese half brother, and then his ex-girlfriend who's black. And so the kids are kind of a drag.
Yeah.
And the guy who plays the son, evidently this is his big break. He has not acted before. So he's very, he's a good looking kid, not a great actor.
Right.
So
I would agree.
I wish the focus would be more on Kurt Russell and delving into his past, but I think they're trying to appeal, to a television version of Four Quadrants. But when we do see the monsters, there's a really cool ice-based monster in the Alaska episodes.
Yeah.
Kind of cool. And then we're going to be going to Africa soon. But I really want to know more about the backstory and the history. And they're kind of doling it out slowly. So, but I'm in. I mean, it's Chris Black, who's a veteran of Star Trek and a lot of science fiction series, co-developed the show with Matt Fraction, who is a very prominent comic book writer. He did a celebrated run on Daredevil, which they've drawn from for the TV series. So, but yeah, it's not perfect. I mean, the weakest part is the young characters, but it's well produced. They obviously have Apple's got all the money. Come on, face it.
It is luxuriously, beautifully, just such a big budget. It's beautiful.
I kind of wish the younger cast members were stronger. I think Kelsey Clemens is pretty good as the ex-girlfriend.
Oh, she's great.
She's actually much better in this than she was in the ill-gotten Flash movie.
She
was Iris Allen. Iris West.
She and Kurt Russell so far,
they're the highlight.
It's their movie.
Although I like Anders Holm and definitely Tamlin Tomita in the past.
Wait, let me pull up the poster again. Let's see. Who are you talking about?
Anders Holm is the young Anglo scientist who grows up to be John Goodman.
Yep.
And a very thin guy.
Oh, that's John Goodman? I didn't realize that.
That he in the pilot when John Goodman
running from the giant spider,
right, and throws the thing in the ocean. That's the grown-up version of Anders Holm.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's Tamlin Tomita as the half sibling's grandmother.
Yep.
Who we see very early does not survive, but because we see flashbacks, we get to see her before her ignominious demise.
Yeah.
which was pretty gross, I might add.
Well, they didn't show her die.
They didn't
Well,
show her die exactly, but they showed her being pulled to her death by lots of creatures.
Yeah, there's no way she survived that. That's for sure.
No. But because we can flash back before that, we're getting the history. So
That's
I'm in for the ride.
I am too. And when I was first talking to you about this, Thomas, or I called it, I love the fact that we are at peak Godzilla. We're getting a lot of Godzilla stuff. I just wasn't sold on it at first. I mean, I liked the pilot episode, but I think it feels as if, it's the monster scenes are great. I'm telling you, was it yet episode 3 or 4 when the flashback when everybody's on the beach and Godzilla comes out of the water and he's off in the distance, and oh my gosh, I loved that scene because it had such a feeling of like immenseness and scariness. Godzilla,
impending doom.
Yeah, commanding the horizon. I love that. And what's weird is I got that scene mixed up with Godzilla Minus One, so I kept on expecting that scene in Minus One. It's like, wait, where's that scene they keep advertising? No, it was in Legendary's, Monarch, the Monarch series. So much Godzilla stuff now that I'm mixing it all together. But I haven't. I think I'm with you. The modern day story, I haven't hitched onto it yet. It's not grabbing me. It's not that interesting. The characters they have in the flashbacks are so much more interesting right now.
I'll have to check. I'll have to check it out. It sounds. I like how they're having all these characters cross over because John Goodman's character is a big part of Kong Skull Island.
Yes,
like his.
Yes. Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay,
yeah.
I'm sold. I will catch up with that.
yeah. He's part of the whole what do you call it, expedition, I guess. So yeah, it's cool that they were like crossing over all this stuff,
Yeah, they're doing the MonsterVerse. It's basically the MCU right now. It's the monsters.
Yeah,
it's the MCU. It's the monster version of the MCU.
Well, a little less output, so therefore a little bit more quality control. I hope.
Right.
I hope so. Good gracious.
I do know that as they were, I watched the ever so brief behind the scenes, and they had to Black and Fraction had to pitch the series to Toho for Toho to sign off on it because they're the IP holder. Legendary's just licensing these characters, so you want to keep them happy because it's so easy when hey, we don't like what you did with our toys, so we're taking them back.
I loved Toho. Was it I think it was this past year or the year before, Toho had the big Comic-Con booth in San Diego celebrating the anniversary of Godzilla, and then they had the gaming room downstairs. They had a giant Godzilla figurine down there. It just started building, and I know Toho, they're the owners of Godzilla, and they've done a good job for so long, but the best thing I think they've ever done is Godzilla Minus One. Let's talk about that, my friends. We're going to talk about Godzilla Minus One because, all right, we're going to talk about it for a second, and then I'm going to let my buddy Johnny say his give us a little bit of perspective, the Asian perspective on the story of it. But let's start with Jake, and then move over to Thomas. And Jake, what'd you think? You just saw it yesterday, fresh.
I saw it last night, late last night. I saw the last screening they had available. Yeah, I loved it. It was great. I had to. Usually, I go to movies with some buddies of mine, and it's kind of a tough sell to be like, "Hey, we're gonna go see this movie. You want to go see it? It's Godzilla." Like, okay, cool. It's like, but it's the Japanese version. They're like, "Oh, and you have to read subtitles." He's like, "I'm okay." So I went by myself. I sat. I enjoyed it. Loved it. Just amazing. Everything about it was great. Acting, visual effects, storytelling, everything just top notch. And I knew I had heard, every time, I don't know, there's a part of me that's always skeptical when I see reviews that are just always through the roof. I'm just I don't know, come on, let me just see it for myself. And I just sat there. I'm like, no, everyone's right. Critics, fans are right. This movie's great. It's awesome. So yeah, I can't recommend it enough.
Not only is it a great Godzilla movie, it's a great movie.
Right.
Yes.
And that's to its advantage. I a friend of mine, actually, Jim's met him virtually. Derek Hughes, he's a co-executive producer on the new Quantum Leap, and he and his writing partner have done a lot of work on science fiction fantasy shows. But he texted me and said the hype is real, and I value his opinion. So the biggest screen I could see it here in West Palm Beach. It was a 10:30 p.m. Saturday show, and I'm not a spring chicken anymore. So I took a couple of couch steps that Saturday, and I dragged myself to the theater. I was gripped, and my ship was stationed in Japan when I was on active duty in the Navy in the late '80s. So things set in Japan. It's interesting. I got to know a little bit about the culture, and did a little bit of travel there. But who'd have thought the Japanese would make the best Godzilla movies? Everybody. But for me, it was kind of like Toho laying down the gauntlet and says, our property, we know best what to do with them. And they made a prequel that kicked serious butt.
I agree. I'm gonna go out on a limb, and I'm gonna make a statement. I haven't seen every Godzilla movie ever made, but up to this point, this is my favorite Godzilla movie I have ever seen. And for those of you, it is kind of a long movie, isn't it? It's about 2 hours. I think it goes almost a full 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
My movie started at 10:15 as well at night. We did have 15 to 20 minutes of previews, AMC. So it didn't really start to, 10:30. And I usually when I go see a movie that late at night, I nap a little right in the middle of it. I didn't sleep at all in this movie. That's just something. And I was most excited, and anyone who's watched the show here knows that this is my thing. I wanted Godzilla to be scary again. I wanted a scary Godzilla. I know there's the older ones where they team up and fight and all this other stuff. That's fine, and that's good for what it is. But I've gotten tired of Godzilla being nothing but friendly, being nothing but the protector. And there was nobody's. I mean, I know he steps on things and ravages things, but he just didn't seem scary. The Monarch series kind of is making him scary. Like he's like G-Day. My favorite part about the Monarch series is when you're in, is it Tokyo or San Francisco, one of the two, where they have, what's the big city they're in that it's all the Godzilla evacuation routes?
San Francisco.
San Francisco, yeah. All the missiles are set up, and they do the big emergency procedures, like emergency to see if you can escape during Godzilla. I just think that's part. I've never thought about that. That's brilliant. It's almost like Godzilla is a hurricane. Godzilla is a bomb, because originally in the 1954, Godzilla represented the atomic bomb, and he was death. He was death to the Japanese people. And some people have even suggested, I don't know if I fully go along with this, that Godzilla might represent the United States, because Godzilla was awakened. The sleeping giant was awakened and ravaged the people of Japan. So either way, both of them kind of like fit. But if you guys will indulge me a little bit, can we talk the human aspect of Godzilla, the human story, which is so rare in a Godzilla movie?
Yeah.
Was probably one of the best parts of this movie. Thomas or Jake, do you guys want to set up what was the main storyline? What was the through line of this movie?
Before the first Godzilla attack, there's a kamikaze pilot who basically
1945 Japan,
who chickens out and says he has mechanical problems. The plane's fine, but when he lands, the island is prone to the very first Godzilla attack. And the movie's a prequel, by the way, which was kind of interesting. My understanding is the reason they call it -1 is because Japan's already been ravaged by Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and then Godzilla attacks.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But what they dealt with, the pilot returns home kind of in shame, because kamikaze pilots are supposed to die, not walk safely. So people call him a coward, and then he has a meet. Well, I hate to call it a meet cute. That's more of a East Coast American thing. But he meets up with a woman, and she has taken in a war orphan. And so they become this de facto family unit, and you really grow to care about this relationship. And then stuff, I don't want to give everything away, but stuff happens.
Yeah.
And I think what Toho did masterfully that a lot of the American movies have not done is makes you care about the human characters.
Yeah.
And, I don't even share a language with them, but it's the emotion, it's the empathy that you're drawn to these charismatic actors. And there's a lesson to be learned here, Legendary. Make us care about the humans.
Oh, I know the Legendary films, which I kind of, I like the earlier ones much more than these later ones, but I just can't follow the character storylines. I just don't care about them.
They kind of fall into the same things as like, they have the younger characters be like way smarter than they should be, I guess. It's like, like the Millie Bobby Brown characters and stuff are always like way smarter than the adults. It's like,
of course,
it's like, it's just, like those movies and, for example, like the Transformers movies, like they're both big action movies, and both movies, up until this point, like a lot of times I'm just like, I don't care about the human characters. Like, I just want to see Godzilla fight monsters. Like, I don't care about anything.
That's how I was.
It's like, but this movie, I was like, I'm really invested in these characters,
Yes. Somebody told me that in Godzilla versus Kong, or not versus, was it either Godzilla versus Kong or Godzilla versus all the monsters, King of the Monsters?
King of the Monsters.
That Kyle Chandler had 6 lines in the whole movie. In one of those movies, and you go back and watch it, like, yeah, he barely is in that movie. They just don't even care about these relationships, guys. And I apologize I have an interview with a friend talking about basically the Japanese response, the Japanese and perspective in this movie. And this is my friend Johnny Tang. He's of Asian descent. He was born in Cambodia, and this is an area that he knows well. And it is a 7-minute interview, so Tom and Jake, you guys are welcome to take a bathroom break when we start this. But this is super interesting, and I do want to apologize to everybody up front. There is discussion of suicide and self-harm in this discussion with Johnny, because the movie does deal with the honor code of kamikaze pilots who abandoned if a kamikaze pilot abandoned his flight and returns back to a ravaged Japan, I guess they would turn their backs on him. So that's something I was in. There's like a culture of honor and suicide that still kind of persists in Japan. It's got the highest suicide rate in the industrialized world, I guess, right now.
I didn't know that. Seppuku is the tradition where they would fall on their swords rather than protected by Americans.
Yeah. And these are things I didn't realize that still persist in Japan, and that the filmmakers kind of took an attack on that culture, which was interesting. I just thought that was so interesting. Here, this is with my friend Johnny, and hopefully you guys enjoy. Where to go? I just had it here we go. All right, here we go. Welcome back to our Godzilla podcast. I have a special guest with us today. This is my buddy Johnny. Johnny is of Asian descent. So we're going to be asking. No, I think it's really important to get some perspective from folks of Asian descent about what we just saw, because we are talking about Godzilla Minus One, which I consider perhaps one of my favorite Godzilla movies I've ever seen. It was awesome. It was amazing. We got all of our Godzillas here. We got the Shin Godzilla. I think when the Japanese folks, when Toho makes Godzilla films, they know what they're doing. I'm not so sure that Universal Legendary is quite on board, although I am kind of liking their films. Anyways, Johnny, we just got done seeing Godzilla Minus One. What's your first impression?
Well, I thought it was a very fun movie. Man, I thought it was a very, very brave and really a movie for the ages. They were taking on some really interesting topics. Maybe we want to get into it now or later, but...
Well, first of all, let me just say, Johnny has not seen a ton of Godzilla films,
I have
right?
not.
But he went to see this film with me, and he really enjoyed it. Not necessarily... Okay, I'm going to say it right up front. Not for the Godzilla stuff. Johnny loved it for the story of the central characters in the movie.
Yeah.
Tell me why that moved you.
Well, I thought in this situation, the people who made the movie took a very, very brave perspective. They used Godzilla as their platform to make some very, very strong points. And you bring me on for my Asian perspective.
But I'm not trying to be
no, it's fine.
exploitive about that. John, me and Johnny are really good friends. We talk about this stuff all the
Yeah.
time. It was really cool because he was telling me, he goes, you know what, that movie was so important, and I could care less about the Godzilla stuff. It was the central story about the guy, the kamikaze pilots in there that really resonated with you. Tell me about that.
To me, it's all about culture and culture shift. The big thing, I'm not sure how much you know, Jim. We didn't have a chance to talk about this, but the kamikaze and suicide and whatnot is a very, very central theme to the Japanese culture. It's a source of pride. So for them to take on this topic was, oh my gosh, that is like an atomic bomb in of itself.
I love he said atomic bomb because this whole movie is about the atomic bomb awakening Godzilla. And it was during World War II when the kamikaze pilots were so prevalent. And what we saw in the movie, a kamikaze pilot who kind of abandoned his mission and his countrymen were turning their backs on him. But he had to soldier through that. Can you talk, what is that like? I mean, from an Asian perspective, what was it? How does this story resonate?
That is probably the worst, for lack of a better word, the worst sin a Japanese person can choose to do, to not fulfill his obligation, which is to give, the biggest sacrifice he can give, which is his life. And for him to come back alive is a huge shame to his country and to his family and to his community and just to his whole country. There's no greater shame than there is. So here's a story about a man having to restore the greatest shame that you can think of.
Let me ask you this, from what you've experienced or from what you know, let's say, okay, let's remove Godzilla from the equation. If somebody comes back and they've abandoned their kamikaze mission, what would his life be like when he returns home?
He would be shunned from society, period. And luckily in that situation, they were going through chaos. So if there wasn't chaos, this guy would be tormented like crazy. So fortunately, he had a chance to redeem himself.
Spoiler alerts. We're going to talk a little bit about spoiler alerts. How did he redeem himself?
Can I? Spoiler alert?
Yes, you can. We gave the 5, 4, 3, 2. Spoilers go.
So this kamikaze pilot, to give the story a little bit, he chose not to fulfill his mission as a kamikaze, and he came back pretending that his airplane had issues. And so now the Godzilla story comes to play, and he had a chance to redeem himself, and this is a chance for him to actually, he did give up his life for his country, but the guys who he did not fulfill his mission for gave him the permission to not give up his life, and they put a chute, right? What is it?
They gave him an ejection seat.
They gave him an ejection seat.
He was being very much tormented by this one main guy who just said, "You are a traitor. You have abandoned your mission. We don't recognize you." But that same guy, we find out later, said, "You should live. You should live. You don't have to die." So this was almost like an indictment on the kamikaze mindset, a little bit. Like a Japanese filmmaker attacking a central tenet of the Japanese fight during World War II. I can't speak to that. I don't have that same background, that knowledge, but how did that affect you? How did his outcome, his redemption story, what did that mean to you?
Man, to be honest with you, Jim, I haven't been able to fully put it all together, because this is such a huge take on the culture's philosophy. So I'm not even sure how to make sense of it all. It's such a big thing, central theme to how the Japanese people view life, view the kamikaze, and give them their life. I'm sure this is bring it back to our current society, with the Middle East stuff. it's very similar in that regard.
Or the what stuff?
Middle East. Sorry, Jim. So it is current.
That's
way.
great. I don't want to get too political here.
Yeah, I don't.
Let's keep it 100 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, at the end of the day, it's really like a culture shift. So I'm just saying this. Okay, so this story is taking on a culture from 100 years ago, right?
Yep.
100 years from now, might be a movie to take on what's going on here. So I'm just saying, just to give you the point, how big of a story this is for these people to address this particular topic. This is astronomical.
Yeah.
I can't even fully wrap my head around it.
Can I ask you a question? And I don't know if you know this, but this movie right now is exploding. In North America, it's expanding to 2,500 theaters. It's becoming a huge, huge hit. Worldwide, it's becoming a big hit. In Asia, in Asian countries, it's becoming in Japan, it's a huge hit. What do you think it says about current culture that it's being embraced so widely? I mean, for one thing, it's Godzilla. He's back. He's scary again.
Okay.
Mother.
Yeah. So I'm not sure. just to bring this back to current culture, suicide is still commonplace in Japan.
What? What are you talking about?
This concept of suicide is commonplace in Japan. It is a cultural norm.
I didn't know that.
If a son fails, his honor is to kill himself. That's his honor.
Oh gosh, I didn't know that. This is news. I'm just not so well versed in.
That's why you brought me on.
That's why I brought you on, because I don't know these things. So how do you think that this movie, the message of this movie, is being viewed by maybe elders in Japan?
That's what I'm trying to tell you. I cannot wrap my head around it. This is such an atomic bomb. I can't wrap my head around it. This is like somebody burning the American flag. I don't know, just so huge. You know what I'm saying? This is so commonplace. If a son goes and fails in business or in school, whatever it is, he comes home and kills himself, and that's his way of restoring honor to the family.
Are you serious? I didn't know this. I don't laugh. I did not.
I'm not laughing at you. That's why I was going to prep you before we talk. But here you are.
Johnny didn't prep me before he talked. Anyways,
this is commonplace to today. That's why there's so much suicide. One of the biggest suicide nations is Japan. To restore honor is suicide. That's how they restore their honor. If I failed my father, the best I can do is give up my life.
Wow. So this is brave filmmaking.
Very brave.
I'm so glad they made this movie.
Yes.
On a surface level, I'm just telling you, I like it that Godzilla's scary again, but Godzilla is scary because he's addressing parts of the Japanese culture, I think, that are left unaddressed. Just like what you're talking about. This is kind of cool. The way the point is, you don't need to commit suicide. You can be great and you can do great things without killing yourself. I think.
I just feel like the maker of this movie,
Toho,
their bravery is to say, honor life. American, Japanese people of all people, honor life. That's huge.
I tell you what, you can't do better than that. Godzilla Minus One. It's in theaters now, guys. You should go see it. My friend Johnny Tang went to see it with me. Wasn't a big Godzilla fan, but thank you for watching it with me. And he came out saying, wow, that was a powerful movie. So thank you, Johnny, for being on the show tonight. All right. So that was my friend Johnny. I don't think we need to talk too much more about the movie. That was a pretty good perspective, but just what do you guys think? Just briefly, the human side, the message side of this movie. Did you guys kind of feel any of that? I mean, I guess it affected Johnny more than it affected me, but now that I have a little bit more perspective, I think it is a bold movie.
Yeah, I mean, suicide is obviously something that affects everyone, all cultures, every society. I know it's a big deal in Japan, but I believe the message that they're trying to get across is a very positive one, which is, choose to live as,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know the better way to say it.
Thomas, did you have any perspective?
Yeah, I think that one of the messages I drew from the movie is we need each other. And even though initially there is no real relationship between our two young leads, somebody actually basically tells him, well, she's kind of like your wife, and he's kind of trying to shrug it off. And then when stuff happens, he realizes, no, we do need each other. Life is worthwhile, and this child is not ours biologically, but she is entrusted to our care. So family's not just about blood and biology.
Yeah.
And I dig this movie. I will buy it when it comes out.
Me too.
I was telling the head of the honors program at my university, believe it or not, this is a good movie. And they're like, really?
Yeah.
And the answer is yes, really.
We've seen so many hokey, cheesy Toho version of Godzillas. This one just surprised me. I loved Shin Godzilla for what it was, although I got a little bit tired of the bureaucratic commentary. Like, did you guys see Shin?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Godzilla was scary again. Godzilla was scary, but I was like, oh, it was getting there. That was a step towards this. This was it's such a monumental Godzilla film for me.
What I liked about Shin Godzilla was that they really kind of explored his development stage, I guess, because when the movie starts off, he's like a little
amoeba.
Yeah, he's like a little tadpole kind of guy or whatever like that. And then you see him progress into what we know as that version.
And I think
Godzilla.
Shin Godzilla was the biggest Godzilla that they ever had.
Yeah.
I think because he was just so monumental. Anyways, if you guys haven't had a chance, see Shin Godzilla, see Godzilla Minus One, two of the best Godzilla movies. Tom?
One more thing. The production budget was only $15 million.
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood, take note.
Wait, only 15?
$15 million.
You can bet Hollywood is taking note. That's
I would hire this guy and have him make a bunch of movies.
Oh,
they have to stop spending. Indiana Jones 3 cost $300 million to produce and another $100 million to market, and it did not make $400 million worldwide.
Do you mean in the Dial of Time, Dial of Destiny?
Dial of Density?
All right. I don't want to keep us too much longer. I know I do want to zip through some of these collectibles that Jake has for us, but I got to know. I just got to. Hey, Andy. Well, Andy Harrow's on. Andy was out tonight. And Lily, I agree. I think that what's so great of this movie is that the fact that it's so very close to the old Japanese movies. I do. I mean, they started Godzilla strong and scary, and he meant something. There was a message behind what Godzilla was. And now when the monster comes out and Godzilla awakened by the atomic bomb, and there's kind of like this cool message behind it about life and honor and stuff. Man, it just really, it was really good.
Yeah, I mean, you're not expecting it from a Godzilla movie. You're just there to see monsters destroy stuff, and all of a sudden you're just like walking out of the theater like, wow, like, you know, like I wasn't expecting that. You know?
I know. Anyways, Godzilla Minus One. I think we are consensus here. Go see it, guys. It's such a great film. All right, because we are up against the hour right here. So, Jake, what I'm going to do is we're going to go through, and you're gonna kind of take us through some of these images. I'm just going to go through the images.
Yeah. Well, I think everything I gave you is specifically from the company Super 7, who is really doing some awesome Godzilla stuff.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
If you want to just go through the
Well, tell us about this first, though. This was something interesting.
Oh. So yeah, we didn't really talk about we didn't talk about the 98 Godzilla really, but this was
there's a reason.
Right, I know. But real
quick. Why was the 98 Godzilla so derided? So why was so bad about that movie?
My opinion was that they borrowed too much of Jurassic Park.
Okay.
Godzilla's look was too similar to a T-Rex. He was too like...
He looked like an iguana to me.
Yeah, like it was like an iguana mixed with a T-Rex. He had his legs were too like, you know, haunchy or whatever. He's supposed to be like
she.
Yeah, whatever. Sorry.
Goddess Zilla.
Yeah, the Japanese, they called him. Yeah. They called that version, I think, Zilla. And then in the 2004 movie Final Wars, like the Japanese Godzilla like destroys it, like shoots the atomic breath, like blows it up.
Wait, but I do want to say this, Brad.
But
Brad went to the premiere of Godzilla Minus One, and the audience was cheering so loudly for Godzilla to kill people, and then they also cheered for the people killed. They were fighting back against Godzilla towards the end. I forgot our buddy Coy Gendreau, who is a friend of Brad's, was the host for the premiere here in Hollywood. They had a big Hollywood event. Brad was there and got to see it on the red carpet opening night. Thank you, Brad.
Yeah. So sorry. Anyways, Jim, that picture you were showing.
Oh, no, let's go back.
This predates the Godzilla '98. This is actually Stan Winston, his design for a Godzilla movie. I think this was actually made around '94, so it's after Jurassic Park. But you can see his version of what he thought Godzilla would be. And I just can't help but wonder, like, how much better would the '98 version of Godzilla be if this is what we got?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You know?
All right.
It looks awesome. You know.
All right, guys. One of the things about Godzilla that's so great right now, comic books, this cool game from Funk. And we all have our toys and stuff, our collectibles. We keep on pulling them all out. There are Jake, I think that's the same. Wait. Is it the same one?
No, this is the King Kong versus Godzilla version.
Oh, I don't have that one. Although I do have King Kong, but
I only have this. This is from NECA. I have that one, and then I have the legendary one from the original.
Wait, is that not the same one?
It's a little different. It's hard to.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see.
Legendary gave Godzilla this really interesting design for his head. It's very angular.
Yeah.
Instead of full.
Yeah.
All right, Jake. So we are at peak Godzilla viewing, but we're also at peak Godzilla collecting. Take us through real quick.
Okay, so this is the company Super 7. Awesome company, makes really cool stuff. They have this line of figures called the Ultimate figures, and they make them basically made to order. So like they have okay, we're gonna make these figures. Everyone signs up. What we're gonna make is what we're gonna make. So everyone who signs up is gonna get this. If not, if you miss it, too bad. Get them on eBay later.
Yep.
So this is I'm trying to think which version of Godzilla.
I think wait. Is it not this version?
There's different. Yeah, there's don't think so. That one looks more like a 60s Godzilla. I think the one you just showed was like a 80s-ish.
This one?
Something like that, yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So that's an example of one of their new figures.
Is that this still?
Same thing.
Okay. We'll keep going. Ooh.
Same one, yep.
That's pretty amazing. I love that.
Really cool.
We're seeing Godzilla walk through the buildings there. Okay.
Uh-huh. And then there's Mecha Godzilla from the 90s, I believe, like 94, I want to say, around the same time.
Yep.
Ultimate figures just shows how cool accessories and interchangeable heads, hands, rocket blasts, just cool stuff like that.
Cool. Oh, and he flies?
You can do the flying pose with that one.
Yeah.
You got the extending spears or whatever those are.
Cool.
So again, Super 7. This is the 3 3/4 inch.
Wait, it's a little one, right?
Yeah, this is based on the original movie.
Wait.
Yeah, 1954.
Is it? I think I got it.
Well, no, that we'll get there. That's a different one. Sorry.
Gosh, there's so many.
So it's black and white because it's supposed to be for the original movie, 1954. The design is that it's the same. Mine's a little there's so many different versions. You see, it's not the exact same one. Mine's I think a 67 or something. There's little changes that most people wouldn't even notice the difference, but unless you're a super nerd, you're like, oh, that's a Showa era. This is a whatever era,
Yep. So there's this.
Yeah.
Then we go to
same
one.
Thing. Yeah, and what's really cool about that was you can see the accessory has the oxygen destroyer, which is what they use to destroy Godzilla in the first movie, which
resulted in Destroya coming back later.
Yep.
All right. This is the one I got right here. I still have the box.
No, that's not. Sorry, you're getting there. That's Godzilla 84. Same company, same design. 3 3/4 inch figures. Obviously from the 84 movie. Much more I've always heard this version described as more like a cat-like Godzilla. He has kind of cat fangs.
Oh, he does, yeah.
It's more
wearing lipstick.
It looks like it. Look at these two things. Yeah, it looks like
he
it.
Definitely has some big fangs there. Yep. And then,
this is mine.
that's the one you have. And I actually have that one.
Finally.
So this is based on the 1970s big figure. They made the Shogun figures that had the hands that would pop out and stuff. So yeah, we have the same one.
Did we get this at Comic-Con?
Maybe something.
Some kind.
They basically took a vintage 70s figure that was whatever 13, 15 inch, I don't know, whatever it was, and they shrunk it down to 3 3/4 inch scale. So it's the same figure. Obviously, it looks nothing like Godzilla has ever looked in any movie, but it's just like a stylized version. And the original big versions, the hands would pop off and stuff.
Yeah,
and then you can see the hand. They can do like the little thing on the back, and you get the little fire breath, the little atomic breath coming out there.
All right. We're going to zoom through here then.
Same thing, Super 7. They do these vintage style like Halloween masks. So there's a Godzilla and it has a glow in the dark.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, very fun. Same thing, Godzilla 74 this time. This might have been a Comic-Con or something exclusive. Glow in the dark.
Nice.
Just, different versions, just a lot of fun.
All right.
And then this is actually, so what we're seeing here is like a digital, I guess, composite of what we're going to get, because this is actually for pre-order right now through Super 7. This is a Godzilla Minus One.
Oh, see, okay, look, here's the -1 poster right here.
Yeah. So what you're looking.
Here's that's awesome.
That's going to be an action figure. That's what it's going to look like. And
man.
So if you're going to get it, I think you have up until January something to order it. Otherwise, you either order it or you don't get it, or you order it or you get it through eBay or something. So I forget. I want to say, I don't know what the price is, maybe like $50-$60 or something like that for like a figure. Like this is like a NECA figure, I think similar scale.
Yeah.
But you're getting like that super detailed look from that movie. I don't know if NECA is going to get the rights also to do that too, but just those pictures I sent. Did you get other ones too, or is that the only one you have?
I think I have stopped with the pictures. I think.
Oh, it's okay. But yeah,
I stopped with number 24.
That's fine. That's fine. But yeah, if you want to get the Godzilla -1 figure, go to Super 7 and find it on the website. It's like on the first page there, and then it's the pre-order. You get it because at a certain point they cut off and say, "Okay, we're done taking orders. We're going to go into production." And then it's about a year or so until you'll probably have it.
Yeah.
So it's a process, but they don't want to overmake stuff and have people not buy it. They want to make enough.
I get it.
So people want to get it,
Yep.
But again, if you go back to that picture, look how that's
let's go back. The figure.
Yeah. Like that's what it's gonna basically look like a 7-inch scale figure that detailed.
I mean, this is the thing. It looks exactly like it. This is amazing. I love that. All right, guys, we have come to the end of our show. We have come to the end. I know that you guys are East Coast time, so it's later for you. Thank you all for those of you who have held on and been watching along with us. Listen, we got to close out with this question. Thomas, start with you. I know that Jake's more of the hardcore Godzilla fan. I'm kind of I'm middling. I love. It's always been my favorite monster my entire life. Thomas, of the whole franchise of the past 50 of however many years we've been doing, it's 70 years now. I think next year's
next year.
Next year's 70th
anniversary of
Godzilla.
Better than G times Kong coming out.
Wait. Last thing. I forgot. Can we just go back to this? I did want to comment on this. Tom, have you seen the trailer for the new movie?
Unfortunately.
You did?
Yeah.
What do you think? What are your hopes?
It does not look great.
Oh, it looks awful. I don't want to influence anybody. Jake, what did you think of it?
I'm trying to remember if I saw it. I might have only seen it. Is it a teaser or is it like a full trailer?
Yeah, it's what, like a minute and a half? It's probably teaser.
Long enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. From what I saw, I was just kind of like, okay.
I can tell you though, there's one scene that's getting a lot of pushback, and it's the one scene. You know what it is, Tom?
Running buddies.
King Kong and Godzilla running next to each other towards the menace that they're gonna fight. It's like bad boys,
I saw someone made a meme and they compared that scene to Rocky 3 with Rocky and Apollo running on the beach.
What is that? No. They fought to the bitter end, and now they're I guess it is like Rocky and Apollo 3, fighting to the bitter end, and then they join forces.
I question the wisdom of. It looks like they're borrowing a lot from Edgar Rice Burroughs for this whole hollow Earth thing, and I'm like, is that really where we want the Godzilla lore to go? Because that's kind of not. I don't know.
The last movie kind of hacked me off when King Kong arrived in Middle Earth. I'm calling it Middle Earth, in Hollow Earth, and went and found his scepter and sat on his throne. I was like, no, he's a beast. He's like, he's supposed to be a savage beast. He had gentleness towards Fay Ray and towards Jessica Lange and Naomi Watts, but no, he's a beast. This is not Godzilla. That's not King Kong.
That's you're talking about different things. Like the original and the Peter Jackson version is night and day compared to Skull Island. Like, it was them taking the character and making a really awesome version of King Kong. Not that the original is not awesome. It's classic. It's
Peter Jackson's version was too long, and he took a little bit too much of the angsty love story, a little bit too much. But Kong was still Kong wasn't going to run beside Godzilla and fight another monster.
Yeah.
I know that just bothers me. Anyways, real quick as we close, Tom, maybe your favorite or least favorite part, your favorite part of the Godzilla franchise. What keeps you coming back?
G minus one is my favorite so far.
Yeah.
So, and that 70s cartoon is an outlier. I mean, I
can't believe we had that. That was crazy. Jake, what about for you?
I mean, I definitely think that Godzilla Minus One is the best movie. Just everything, like I said before, everything is amazing in it. Personally, just because I'm such a nostalgia guy, to me, nothing tops King Kong versus Godzilla, the original movie that started off me. That'll always be my favorite. Yeah. Even though it's not the best, and you watch it now and there's some stuff in it and you're just like, yeah, that's not gonna fly nowadays, but it's still a great movie. It's still a lot of fun. So I still if anyone ever is hasn't seen anything, I always suggest that. I'm like, you have to keep in mind, just in 1962, I think it was when it came out.
Yeah.
I'm like, just think of how awesome this was back then in 1962. You know.
Well, like the original King Kong, the 1933. Mm-hmm. Think it. A lot of people hate it now, but I can't say that. A lot of people have a hard time with all the stop motion stuff, the herky jerkiness of it. But when he fights that Tyrannosaurus Rex, that's still one of the most classic scenes in all of movie history. And when he falls from the Empire State Building, oh my gosh, such beauty! My first time seeing King Kong, I was yes, it was beautiful. Yeah. Peter Jackson may have overdone it, probably. I even like the 77 version with Jessica Lange,
Jeff Bridges,
and the Twin Towers.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah, that's right.
I think that was. Oh God, my mind's gonna go blank. Not Stan Winston. Who's the guy? Oh my God.
Dino De Laurentiis.
Yeah. Well, he did that, but who's the guy who did the effects for American Werewolf in London?
Oh, did he do the same thing? The creature effects?
Yeah. God. Oh my God. I'm gonna come up.
Didn't Rick Baker do the?
Rick Baker. Yeah. Rick Baker. Sorry. Yes, I believe Rick Baker was the one who did the makeup for King Kong in that one. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Well, guys, listen, we're going off on another tangent here. King Kong is great, but this is all about Godzilla, King of the Monster, Godzilla, who is rampaging back. Is it too much right now? I don't think so. I think we're getting what we want. I think that the movie coming out next year might be the weak link, but we don't know. Hopefully they can course correct this buddy cop adventure movie of Godzilla and King Kong that they're trying to create. But other than that, go see Godzilla Minus One. It's amazing. Go check out the Monarch Legacy of Monsters series. It's it's up there. It's got such a big budget. Let's see where that thing takes us. It's interesting. Jake, where can people follow you?
You can find me on Instagram at the Jacoba System.
And Thomas?
You can find me on Facebook, X, Threads, and Instagram. Blurred PhD.
Blurred PhD. Oh, you're on. I haven't made it over to Threads yet. I need to get over there. All right, guys, you can follow me. Just follow me at theconguy.com or at James D. Fry on Instagram. Follow the Con Guy on Instagram, X. There's another one. Oh, YouTube and Facebook. We are all over the place, guys. Thank you for tuning in tonight as we talked about one of our favorite big guys in films. Anyways, Thomas and Jake, thank you guys so much for staying up late and talking with us tonight. And as well, greetings. By the way, one last thing. I love the fact that they used the original 1954 soundtrack, the sound in this movie. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, I loved it. It just gave me the chills when that came on. Loved it. All right, guys. Good night from the Con Guy. Bye, guys.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to The Con Guy Show, the official program of theconguy.com. Find us on the We Geeks Collective or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And now on sci-fi.radio, Saturdays at 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific, both AM and PM. That's 9 o'clock Greenwich. It's sci-fi for your Wi-Fi.